subject experts interviewed. Charles did a presentation which was basically anything you ever wanted to know about software and web development. And he got so many enthusiastic participants. The poor guy was there for about 2.5 hours. He was covered in new questions. It was great. Trina Isaacson, where are you, Trina? There's Trina. Most of the time, Trina is an independent researcher and strategist on issues facing the nonprofit sector, including volunteerism, tech, and governance. She's currently on contract as a policy analyst with Citizenship and Immigration, but she'll be heading home to Vancouver in April. So we're grateful that she could spend one of her last few days in Ottawa with us. Catherine McGovern is not here yet. She'll be here later in the day. She is the Government Information Librarian at the University of Ottawa. And she'll be here doing a session at noon, showing participants how to make a map from data using the National Household Survey and Google Maps. Finally, Alvaro Vargas, where's Alvaro? There he is. He is passionate about ideas and improving user experiences in all facets of life. He's an expert in usability, or UX, which I kind of like to say is a fancy word for making the internet feel. And he likes to say usability is an outcome, not a process. Alvaro isn't just coaching them. He's our opening speaker. In a few minutes, he's going to take you through UX 101, set the stage for how we're going to tackle the challenges we're working on. He will be explaining how UX is really all about connecting. But first, a brief note about how today will unfold. And if later in the day you're trying to remember what's happening in the program, go to one of the pillars. We've posted a general overview of the program on these giant concrete pillars. So after Alvaro speaks and gets you all pumped up, we're going to hear problem pitches from about 10 people. And you will be asked to choose which problem you would like to spend the day working on. Oh, hello, me.
Does it look okay?
Yeah,
Great.
I gotta fix my hair. All right. Does this mean that we're now connected to folks elsewhere? Hello, people joining us. I'm so sorry there was a delay. I was just talking about how today will unfold. So after Alvaro Vargas speaks, we're going to hear problem pitches from 8 to 10 people, and everyone connected by remote and here in the room will be asked to choose which problem you'd like to spend the day working on. And we'll break into teams, and there'll be a lot of brainstorming and mapping and thinking and talking and maybe some arguing. That would be great. And then we'll have lunch. And during that time, coaches will be circulating to help you move the discussions along. At lunch, you'll have a chance to sit in on several presentations. Then we'll reconvene in the afternoon before sharing our progress at the end of the day. So finally, just a little word of advice. This is not a day for sitting on the sidelines. Each of you is here today because you have something to share. You have skills, you have experience, you have a perspective that is important to us, and we want to hear your ideas. So don't be shy. You have a voice, and we want to hear it. So speak up, share your experience, challenge your own assumptions, challenge the assumptions of the people around the table with you, toss wild ideas into the air and see where they go. This is how innovation happens. This is how we make a difference. As Alvaro said earlier this week, today you're not watching a movie, you're in the movie. At Datafest Ottawa, we want to create a space to help ideas take flight in a sector that is crucial to building a strong, cohesive Canada. And we're thrilled you feel the same way. So Alvaro, where did you go now?
I'm going to get his session to do that.
Okay.
And I'm really happy to share with everyone that we do have people joining across the country. So we had a little trouble with our live stream, but we have people today in Thunder Bay, Nova Scotia. I think we have people in Halifax, Hamilton. So just wanted to let everybody know that this is beyond this room, and that's really exciting.
And they'll be joining you in your teamwork as well.
Yes. Okay. So.
Okay, so he'll be back shortly.
So Alvaro's presentation, he just had to slip out to the washroom.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Everybody has Wi-Fi now. So check your inbox. you should have a password there that you can enter to access it. Great.
All right. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today I'm going to be speaking about UX 101 and demystifying the user experience. Sorry, just going to move this up. Pour nos amis en français, je n'ai pas une présentation en français, mais il y a une version française d'un article que j'ai écrit dans le Padlet. So that is the bilingual portion of our program. Thank you. Okay, so UX 101, demystifying user experience design. So let's first start off with a definition for design. So design is the purpose, planning, and intention behind bringing a product or service into being. Which means then that UXD, also known as user experience design, UX, is essentially the design of the experience between an end user and their points of interaction with products and or services. So therefore, designing a user experience can apply to anything from an email to the handling of an assistance request to a physical design of a door. Now, if you've ever pushed on a door when you should have pulled, you'll know exactly what I mean. The good news is you're probably doing it already. In our daily work, we're continually designing things to engage the end user with our products, to either inform their decisions or enable their objectives. Design decisions also extend beyond look and feel into choosing how and where the products and services will become available to the target audiences, maximizing impact and availability, with that, using the principles of good UX makes it more likely that your outputs will connect with your end users in a meaningful way, which means that they will likely be more successful. And that's both your users and your product and or service. So there's a lot of literature out there right now. There's a lot of books, a lot of blogs. There's courses, degrees, master's degrees you can get on user experience design now. So I'm just going to give you 4 principles that I think are by no means exhaustive, but will certainly get us started. The first of those principles is know your audience. Now, demographics will give you some of these generic parameters, but they'll not give you a lot of meaningful information about what your audience wants, who they are, how they think, or how they plan to use what it is that you're producing. And the big thing here is you also want to always think of it in terms of which of their objectives are you trying to enable. One of the best ways to get to know your audience is to actually go out and talk to them, see what they want. And not just talk to one of them, but talk to a few of them. The second is prototypes. Prototyping is something that we talk about a lot, and people sometimes get really fearful of it. Prototypes are essentially drafts. The drafts, essentially, what they allow us to do is that to create something, test it with our audiences, come back, fine-tune it, make sure that it meets their needs, and essentially whittle it down, not unlike what we do with written products, until we get something that is actually appropriate and useful. In doing this, it will allow us to fine-tune the outputs before you release them. Prototyping is scalable and adaptable to any type of deliverable or project. But again, don't get caught up on the term. They really are just drafts. And essentially what you're trying to do with this is you're trying to create something that will not force your users to be thinking. Now, to go with that, so as a bit of a principle 2.1, good UX should be seamless, which means you don't want to make your users guess about what you mean or what you're supposed to do when they interact with your service or product. Use plain language in your instructions and be clear. As an example, how memorable was the interface of the last time that you went to take money out from an ATM? You went in, got your money, you got out. You didn't think about the interface, but the interface was there and the interface was designed. So therefore, you were able to go to the machine, take your money out. It enabled your objective.
no problems, and you can, of course, unless you don't have money in your bank, but that's not an interface issue. The third thing is become a steward for what you make. Everything changes, so your products and services should evolve and adapt to keep up. When you produce or launch something, you got to think about what the maintenance or in-service strategy will be. This will ensure that consistency in your product or service is maintained once it starts to be updated. We saw a lot of this with government websites. We all engaged in this ROT initiative, getting rid of redundant, outdated, or trivial content. And part of that was because prior to that, we had this mindset of creating content for the web, putting it out there, and then walking away. The reality is whenever we create something, within 30 days, you can pretty much bet that the currency of that product is going to start diminishing, which means that the value over time starts diminishing as well. So we need to be aware of that in terms of what we design. And lastly, as was stated, that it's one of the things that I love to say is that UX is an outcome, not a process. When something is a process, we tend to assign responsibility and accountability for parts of the process to others, which means that we assume the responsibility is no longer ours. When we think of things in terms of outcomes, we assume that we're all responsible to contribute to getting something done, even though the accountability for more specific parts may be given to a few. UX as an outcome means that we're all consciously mindful of the user experiences we create when designing products or services. Doing so will make us all more engaged, productive, and efficient. So an example of this would be spelling. We may have writers in our own organizations that are responsible or accountable for more specific parts of the craft of writing. However, if I'm sending an email to you or an email to you, it's still part of my responsibility to make sure that I do my best to communicate appropriately, to use proper spelling, to use grammar, and that's really the point of UX as an outcome, not a process. And that's it. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions or? No? All right. Yeah, so thank you.
Thanks so much, Alvaro, for that introduction. Citizenship and Immigration Canada, of course, wanted this focus of the day to be user experience, user centricity, thinking about the user, which sometimes when we have our heads down in our cubicles, we don't always have the chance to do in our day-to-day. So let's get creative and collaborative with that perspective, and really hoping that people who have had the experience of immigrating to Canada firsthand can really speak up and bring their voice to the creativity that happens today. So what we have in the next half hour are 10 3-minute pitches. So these are problem pitches. C'est un vrai plaisir pour moi d'avoir travaillé avec ces 10 personnes courageuses because the pitchers have come forth saying, we have problems. We have problems that we need to work on. We believe that we can do our work better, perhaps using technology-based solutions. And so I won't give too much more introduction to that part of it, but you'll see 10 3-minute pitches. And what's going to happen after that is, for those of us who are physically here in Ottawa, we will be moving our chairs, grabbing tables, forming teams right after the 10 pitches are done. So you want to be walking up to the pitcher that perked your interest the most and say, I want to be on your team for the day. I have that problem too. Let's work on it. So you're going to be forming teams, and we'll help you get things moving and tables and set up around the room and get you hooked up with your devices as well. And after that, we will be providing you with your first task of the day, which will be to really suss out and identify the user experience related to that problem. So just to let you know that after the 10 pitches, it will get really noisy in here. And we'll also have people who are joining us remotely who will be connecting with me saying, I want to be on this team, I want to be on that team. And I'll be making sure that the pitchers are aware of who will be participating virtually on their teams as well. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Laith Ahmed to the stage. Laith, great.
Good morning, everyone. Bonjour. My name is Laith. I'm a system engineer. I worked also as interpreter and cultural advisor in Cairo, Egypt, before I got resettled here. And when I first moved here to Ottawa 8 months ago, I faced the problem that I don't have a network to get a job. So, and as I read yesterday, all the statistics that proves everyone who comes as a migrant or a newcomer here, they do face the same problem. After like 1 month of staying here, I got introduced to a couple of programs supported by CIC, like War Skills, INTAG, and a couple other programs that I don't remember the names. But those programs helped me a lot to build my network and introduce me to the ICT market here in Ottawa. So these programs, I wish that everyone who's staying abroad, who's coming to Canada as newcomers, get introduced to these programs while they are waiting. So let's work on that. I wish to work with some of you today to solve this problem. Thank you so much. And this is the problem that I wish that we can work together on solving it. Thanks.
Thank you, Lei. Our next pitcher is Sam Wissam. Come on up.
Hello, I just go by Sam, and I just describe myself as a performance excellence strategist. And what that does is that it takes a group of individuals, corporates, in a corporate environment or in a government institution or even on an individual level, and help them deliver that exceptional performance that they want. I work with Cantactics World and do deliver programs around that. In 2003, I immigrated to Canada after a long time studying where and what do I want to do with my life, and I invested quite time to decide where I want to go, and I'm still happy that this was the right decision that I made in my life. One thing I faced at that time, and after I landed, is how would I integrate into the Canadian workplace? And interestingly enough, I was reading a few articles a couple of days back about the nature of business in Canada, and I don't want to say that I was surprised to know, but it was confirming that our Canadian economy is heavily influenced by the drive of the SMEs. Matter of the fact, SMEs make 50% of our GDP. Now, picture that, 98.1% of SMEs in Canada employ just about, a little less than 100 employees. In 2012, 7.7 million people were employed by small businesses. That is what? That is 69.7% of the private labor market. 20% of the private labor market at that time were employed by medium enterprises, which tells us that this is an economy that is heavily and significantly influenced by small and medium enterprises. For our economy to grow further, it only makes sense that we will heavily depend on the growth of SMEs. And for them to do that, they could come up with innovations, new inventions, new products and services. At one point in time, they might face some level of maturation in the market, where for them they may need to start to think, how will we grow our business further? And one strategy to do that is to go beyond the borders. And when I say beyond the borders, not just work with our friends in the United States, but as well take the small business, small and medium enterprises servicing products to international markets, Asia, Africa, Europe, you name it. And for some of you who may or may not know, Canadian products and services and knowledge is much appreciated at that part of the world. So we are at advantage. Challenge is, a lot of the SMEs may not necessarily have the infrastructure when it comes to onboarding and outreach programs that would easily make it easy for what I love to call PITs, professional international talents, and I deliberately choose that term because they are professionals. They've been exposed to markets where these SMEs would be interested in working with and extending their services to. At one point in time, for PITs to integrate into market, they need to have easy access. So the challenge is, if we were today to discuss from a technical perspective an initiative where we can make it easy for SMEs as well as for PITs to integrate them into the Canadian workplace and culture, I think that would make a major difference in our economy and in our performance. And I would love to work with some of you on resolving such a challenge today. Thank you very much.
Just going to take this moment to find a plug before we lose everything right there. I don't think it'll reach. So if we were to pull this forward more.
Okay, I'm actually going to be the next pitcher. Our pitch number 3, location matters, has a lot of interest from the virtual participants, and I think that unfortunately, although our pitcher is not able to make it today because she fell ill, I think it still is worthwhile to throw that pitch out on the floor and see if anyone is interested in picking it up here in the room. Location matters. I think we can all relate to that theme. So I'm just going to read what's on our pitch page. In their local landscape, immigrants need quick, reliable, and comprehensive information on services to help settle and succeed. At the same time, service providers and funders need clear information on where services are needed most and can have the greatest impact. While several models of service and client mapping exist, cic.gc.ca, they are piecemeal, divided in their offerings across search platforms and lines of service provision. So you have 3 levels of government trying to communicate services, you have nonprofit organizations trying to communicate services, and if you go to their websites and they have maps, chances are that map is not going to show what the other level of government or nonprofit is doing. Service providers, funders, and immigrants must expend resources to research this information individually. I've done that. I've spent days researching what other services exist. So this one really connects with me. So instead of all researching this as individuals, as immigrants, as funders, as nonprofits, can we curate and present service needs and service mapping in a more comprehensive, user-friendly, and efficient way for all? This pitch will make use of data and models on event day. If any data sets or mapping models come to mind, please link to them in the comment section. We also have some things that were put up on Padlet.com. And I believe that we will have a very unique data set from Citizenship and Immigration Canada if anybody is interested in jumping on that one. Thanks. And next we have how to support young people and their families in circumstances where they are not eligible for services.
Picture someone.
Sure. Yeah.
Same time.
Hi everyone, my name is Nada Al-Masri and
I'm Jorge Salazar. Yes.
we're actually from Vancouver. We're from the Fresh Voices initiative. So yeah, so just tell you a little bit about ourselves. We actually work with mostly immigrants and refugees by providing them space where we could meet and work on different projects that or issues that they find important, and we try to empower them and help them achieve it. So, anything else?
And just to kind of give you, so this is this work supported by an organization called Vancouver Foundation. And with the Vancouver Foundation, I don't know how many of you know community foundations. Usually these are granting spaces, but Vancouver Foundation has made a decision to support this stream of initiative as a convener. So what Vancouver Foundation has is that we facilitate a process with young people from different programs come together with youth workers to host conversations with other young people around how the system works, or how the system could be improved. So one thing that we did is that we went around the province. So this was in BC, and we talked to about 200 young people. 200 people about how was it like to be an immigrant, refugee young person in the province. And a lot of things came out. Because that's the way. So this is the report. So we produced a report, which is the result of those conversations with those 200 young people. And I think we could say that we talked to more people, because at the same time, as we were holding focus groups, we were also being in conferences and talking to our peers, our families. And from that report, then you're going to see a summary of the conversations. You're going to also see 16 policy recommendations to different stakeholders, including government, particularly government. So one thing that we're going to do here today is that we're going to pose two issues that we had a hard time with, that we couldn't really make recommendations about. Okay? So we're still telling you the report, because if you want to just please Google it. Although, actually, I just realized that you can find it mostly not through we don't have a website that says Fresh Voices, but if you go to Vancouver Foundation, you're going to find it there. Or if you go to our campaign, because one thing that we did is we did a campaign focusing on the system of education called Make It Count. So if you go there, you might find it. But anyways, so we have two pictures. That's us. Oh, I'm from Colombia. I came to Canada as a refugee 14 years ago. But I'm a Kenyan citizen, yeah. You want to say anything?
I am not from Colombia. Yeah. Well, I'm originally from Palestine. Anyway, so as he said, we have talked to so many youth, and we have so we discussed a lot of issues, but one of them was basically how the role of young adults supporting families navigating Canadian system. So as you know, when most families arrive to Canada, most of them don't speak English, and even if they do, they have very little knowledge of the system here. And so often the young adult, the youth, is the one that ends up being responsible for the family. So this is like translating for the parents, taking them to different places, often also working and supporting the family financially, and that affects the youth, because now they're taking time off school, they're taking time off their own personal life to help or do things that is the responsibility of the adult of the family. But anyway, so the issue is right now what we're trying to figure out is what can we do to help these young adults, succeed in their life and support them, so that they don't have to spend most of their time doing things that normal or I don't want to say normal kids, but Canadian kids shouldn't be doing. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
There's one pitch. The other thing that we got was that there is issue of eligibility, because some people come here and they don't have status. So, but what happens if they're a young person? Are they responsible for what's happening in regards to the laws of Canada, how they might or not might be able to access a school or healthcare? So even programs for young people, like what we found is that some of the young people that were part of the program, or even people who were in the groups that we were connected to, now their siblings could not join anymore because they were in limbo in regards to their status. So it's what can we do as a community when we see the compromise of humanity? Because in a way, we have these young people who are trying to go to school, or they're even afraid of going to school because they don't want to be deported, or they don't want to be put their parents in danger. And just even accessing doctors, or accessing lawyers, or accessing even being in transportation system. You know that in BC no longer, but in BC we had issues during haul transportation. Was a place where immigration would stop people. So now it doesn't happen, and we think that even connected to working with different programs, including members of immigration or members from local authorities in terms of schools or health or whatever, we can all work together to make sure there is some type of support system for young people, at least. How can we ensure that there is that young people can at least basics human services? So that's our issue. We don't know what to do with them. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we brought reports in case people wonder.
So I admit I titled the next pitch. I'm a huge fan of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And so when a pitch came forth with a very city-specific title, I couldn't help but call it It's Always Sunny in Hamilton. So this is Ines, our next pitcher.
Good morning. I'm Ines Rios. I am the Executive Director of the Immigrant Women's Center in Hamilton. Hamilton has become my second city after my city that I was born in, Chile, Valparaíso. And, I'm here for you to help me to promote Hamilton as a point of destination for new Canadians. So we want to make sure that we don't suffer that decline that Ontario has suffered for in the last probably 5 years. Ontario is not receiving as many immigrants as they used to. We still are the primary receiving city in Toronto is, and Ontario as a consequence lately, but the percentages are low. So Hamilton, being a wonderful city in so many different ways, lost manufacturing. So you probably remember Hamilton as the steel city, right? Internationally known, logistic, over the lake, it was fantastic, and the standards of living of many years ago was high. We have been replacing that with the new airport and a lot of traffic of goods and services, but it's not a manufacturing city yet again. So we are starving, I will say, in my own, as my organization as a settlement services that is been around for over 27 years, have seen the waves of different groups of people coming to Hamilton. But right now, that type of traffic and receiving is low. As a consequence of that, revenues in the city are low because there is not as many businesses, and taxes have increased. We have to correct that. There are lots of business movement going on right now. You will probably, if you have not been in Hamilton in the last year or two, you will see a lot of difference arriving in Hamilton. There's a lot of construction. And I think 12 different new spectacular condominium centers are. So we expect that people may come and purchase more property, but we need investors. We need people that come. Now, we have universities. We have great universities. We have hospitals. We have great green areas. We have the lake, and the bay front is being renovated to be, beautiful and accessible to everyone. So, but the problem here is to make the city to attract and retain newcomers to Canada. Thank you.
Thank you, Ines. We now have our Google Hangout pitch happening. So I'd like to invite the people in London to make their pitch for us. So I'm just going to unmute here. Okay, Pathways to Prosperity, can you guys hear us? Can we hear you?
You hear us?
Yes. Okay, go ahead with your pitch, introduce yourselves, and you've got 3 minutes.
I'm Joshua, and this is Sonali, and we're here representing. We now have our the Pathways to Prosperity Partnership. We're a national alliance of universities. So I'm just going to. Okay, we have two windows open here, and I think there's a timeline on the live stream.
Yeah, please close the other one. Thanks.
Okay. All right. As I said, we're here representing the Pathways to Prosperity Partnership. We're a national alliance of university, community, and government partners that deal with fostering welcoming communities and promoting integration of immigrants and minorities across Canada. And we've conducted several surveys of newcomers to Canada, and immigrants that overwhelmingly report that one of the things that will help them settle better in Canada is not only more information, but also more accurate information, and for this information to be more easily accessible. They indicate that they do not want to receive all the information all at once, but rather have it available for them to easily access the portions of information that they want. So there is the Welcome to Canada Guide, which does provide some valuable information to newcomers. It is a CIC product, and the Pathways to Prosperity Partnership was involved in this initial development. The guide offers newcomers information on a variety of topics, and this includes things they need to do before and after arriving, things related to housing, working in Canada, Canadian laws, and the healthcare system, the education system, and other crucial information. Now, it's currently available in English and French, in print and online as a PDF and an e-publication. But we think that this guide could be reaching more newcomers than it currently does, and it could be available in a quicker and easier to use way that allows newcomers to access specifically the information they want, without having to search through these documents. And so the question is, how can we make the experiences of accessing, interpreting, and acting upon this information more accessible and interactive for newcomers to generate better settlement outcomes? So we look forward to working with some of you on this project today. Thank you.
Pathways to Prosperity, can you guys hear us?
Yes, we can.
We hear you. So they're hearing the lag there. That was excellent. I'm sure that they're seeing us on the live stream now. So what's going to happen with that team, just so that everyone in the room knows, if you want to join that team, all of the teams will have an element of virtual participation. So just I am Pathways to Prosperity for the next 15 minutes. If you want to talk to me, if you want to join the team, I'll make sure to link you up with them using Google Hangouts. We have another pitch now with Leah Snyder, and she's got a great whiteboard that she's going to bring in. Yeah, please bring that over. So for those of you who are watching the live stream, Leah is bringing over a whiteboard, and she'll probably describe it pretty well.
Yeah, you may not be able to read my writing, sorry.
So she'll just come up to the microphone.
Oh, I'll have to come to the mic.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah? Yeah, okay.
You want, just to see what
Sure.
It's a mobile app? So actually, Leah, if you can bring it over here a little bit more. Sorry. Just watch the cord. If you just back it up. Oh, yeah. That's a good idea. All right. Okay. Are we good? Can you hear me? They won't be able to tell me. Okay. So, okay, we've already figured out who I am. I'm Leah Snyder. And I'm a writer, a photographer, and a designer, which I think equals I do a lot of fun stuff. And all of this that I do feeds into this project that I started 3 years ago called Mixed Bag Mag. And I talk a lot about diversity, identity, and that's why I call it mixed bag, because it's a little bit of good, a little bit of bad, a little bit of complicated, and mag sharp for magazine. And so this is an online space that I created that I curate contemporary Canadian culture, and I include both Indigenous and immigrant perspectives. And what I'm really interested in is this space in between, because there's a lot of sometimes tension and a lot of not understanding where the other one's coming from. And so it doesn't always equal the same thing, because it's historically a very different starting point. And so what I'm interested in doing, but what I actually do a lot professionally is I do a lot of culture mapping. And I work with a lot of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit visual artists going into an online space and making the visible visible by taking Google Map technology. I've been working with the geomatics department at Carleton to do some projects there. And so often I'm working in this art space when I'm doing this, and it's not really getting out to the broader community, but lately I've been part of more projects where we're talking about how do you sort of bridge that gap. And so what I want to do is take sort of the culture mapping projects I've been doing and these ideas and concepts and bring it out into the broader community. And so what I see a lot of times is new Canadians really do want to know the history and the contemporary realities of it and the Indigenous perspective in Canada, and they want to understand. So what I thought would be a great idea is to make a map using maybe Google Map technology and focus on a template that's Ottawa specific, because that's sort of my area of expertise. And then that becomes a template that you could take to other different communities. And the reason I think it's a great idea is because an online space is often a safe space. Because a lot of times people feel like, okay, I'm coming to a new country and now I'm going into, do I have to go to a space, it's an Aboriginal space, I might feel uncomfortable, I might feel like I'm gonna ask stupid questions or act inappropriately. So if you can find out information and sort of get you know, ideas of the history and ideas of issues, or even find different events or different projects, art projects, community-based projects in Ottawa, you know, this is where you can start to, you know, to get an understanding. And so I always think that understanding equals empathy equals compassion. And my bigger goal, why I do this, is because I really believe that Canada can be an even more compassionate country than it is. And so, I mean, this isn't a hashtag that I've used, but I thought of it this morning, just hashtag deepen diversity. So I'm always thinking about how can we sort of broaden that context of what diversity means beyond just multiculturalism, and sort of, you know, create a really strong country going forward into the 21st century, into the future. So if anybody wants to work with me on that, I'd be really happy. I think that's it. Thank you.
Julia, we have one more pitch. Kelly McGahey. Yeah, that's good. So again, after Kelly's pitch, we're all going to applaud. And then, and then everybody in the room is going to stand up, walk towards the person whose pitch intrigued them the most, mingle, get to know one another, talk about what you do, and form into teams. So it's a very organic, chaotic 15 minutes, and there are people in the room that will help you through that. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. Good morning, everyone. Great pleasure to be here. Thanks, Lisa and Louisa and CIC for supporting and organizing this event today. So what I'm talking about are variations on a theme. I'll start off by introducing myself. My name is Kelly McGahey, and I lead stakeholder relations for an initiative called Hire Immigrants Ottawa here in Ottawa. And this initiative actually works with employers to help them to more effectively attract and integrate immigrants into their workplaces. But that's not what I'm here to pitch about in particular. I'm here with collaboration with my colleague Clarence. Clarence is an amazing research and policy guy. This pitch also came out of conversations with our colleague back at United Way, Paul Steeves, who's a terrific researcher and stats person. And one of the things that we talked about, and again, really variations on a theme, is that newcomers come to communities with such a wide variety of information needs before they arrive, and once they arrive, they're often unsure of where to turn for that information. From everything from where do I get documents, where do I get my driver's license, where do I find settlement services, what's a good place to eat, what's a good neighborhood for me to be living in given my particular circumstances. The challenge is not that the information doesn't exist. There is a great deal of information, almost too much information. The challenge is that that information, we know it's on websites, it's on portals, as we heard already this morning, it becomes outdated very quickly. It's confusing as to where do I go, what do I turn to? And a couple of other factors we were noting is that there's some research indicating that newcomers are particularly likely to look for information using their mobile devices. So that's something that they're increasingly using. So we thought that the potential solution to some of this is an app. So we love the idea of an app. It could be replicable across cities. And the other thing is, how do we crowdsource or use a sort of wiki model to curate the information that is available? And that's something that we'd really like to work with some of you on today. Thank you very much.
Wow, it's going to be great. Okay, so what we'd like to do is we'd like to have everyone who made a pitch, obviously, sorry, London, you're not going to be able to stand at a whiteboard, but people who would like to work with the team that pitched from remote, we'll talk to Lisa. And if there's someone in the room that you want to work with or you're not sure, you have questions for them, we're going to ask everyone who made a pitch to pick a whiteboard or an easel. We're going to move them out into space. Write your name on it and the topic that you pitched, just to remind people. And then we're going to ask everybody in the room to circulate, ask questions, get a sense of where you think that idea might go, how it might fit with your skill set or your interests. And you'll have 15 minutes. It's kind of like speed dating in a way. So you need to be kind, you know, and make a good first impression.
We've all done speed dating. I love how,
Thanks.
you know, there's a lot of speed coaching, speed dating, and it's just like speed dating, as if everybody has done that.
It's true. Yes, I hate to admit that speed dating wasn't around when I got married. All right, that's how old I am. So I think how many pitches did we end up total? Because
9 pitches.
9 pitches. Okay, so we can divide the whiteboard in half. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh yes, sorry. And this one has space on both sides. So there we are with 9. Okay, so if everyone who pitched could come to a board, and we'll give you a couple of minutes, and then we'll call everyone up to start circulating.
We're all, anyways.
So will we close this now?
Or no?
So everyone who's in the live stream, we're going to be closing the live stream for the morning. You should have my cell phone number, which you can text and let me know what team you're interested in joining. And thanks so much for joining us. We'll be definitely reconnecting at around 4 o'clock this afternoon for the final presentations. And we hope that you guys will work all day with us here, because it's going to be really exciting. So thanks so much.